There's doctors out there recommending our coffee. This is like a doctor prescribing you to take something.
I've never heard of a doctor prescribing coffee before.
Isn't that wild? Over 90% of commercial coffee sold in the US has traces of mold and mycotoxins. Whatever they reject in the European Union and Japan, they send to the US to consume. And for people like my mom with these autoimmune issues, it could flare up all these issues. And I realized this is our niche. We're not a coffee company. We're a health company selling really good coffee.
What pushes you to be great?
Your son has stage 4 eye cancer. It's called retinoblastoma. He shouldn't be alive. That's what the doctors told my parents. This cancer shouldn't have killed him. Every day really is a gift. I was given a second chance. What am I gonna do with this?
That's powerful, man. Don't ever lose that. What up, guys? Special day. Born to be great.
Yeah, man. Well, we got a young gun on here today. Very appreciative of his time. Caleb's a new friend of mine, but a good friend. And yeah, we mentioned the cancer thing because 24 years yesterday, we just found that out. So I wanted to shout that out real quick. But a little bit of background on Caleb for those of you who don't know him. Like we were saying, he got diagnosed with cancer at age 2 years old, stage 4 eye cancer, which caused him to lose his left eye. But obviously he did not let that stop him because he's chilling us today. And instead of, letting be defined by that, he went on to become a level 10 competitive gymnast. And now he's actually building a really cool coffee company with his brother, which we will talk a lot about today as well. So Caleb Sloop, man, welcome to Born to be Great.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome, bro. We appreciate you for coming on. So dude, let's get right into it, bro. Let's talk about the cancer journey a little bit. Can you talk us through what that was really like for you? Age 2, I mean, that's wild, man. And, losing an eye. Can you just talk a little bit about how that maybe affected you and maybe led you to where you're at today?
Yeah, definitely. Cool timing. Yesterday was 24 years cancer-free. It's funny about that day. My parents aren't really into birthdays, but, they always, it's a big day for them. They talk about it a lot. It means a lot in the family. So just to give you a nutshell of how it happened is, when I was 2 years old, my parents, they told me in some of my photos, back in the day, a lot of our photos, they had red lights on your eyes. If you go back, there's some red lights. And they noticed that the left eye, there was no red light. So they thought that was kind of odd. And I have blue eyes. And my mom said one day that my left eye turned brown and started bulging. And, she's freaking out, right? Like, what's wrong with my kid's eye? So she took me to a primary care physician. And they essentially said, you got to get him to a hospital right now. They're freaking out. They don't know what's happening. My parents are super young. So they take me to the hospital. And essentially it's, the doctor gave them the worst thing they wanted to hear. Your son has stage 4 eye cancer. It's called retinoblastoma. It's in the retina. It's not genetic. It's very, very random. It happens to only a select number of really young kids. So they rushed me into surgery right away. And I don't know how familiar you guys are of cancer, but, stage 4, it's the latest stage. And it was so late, I couldn't even go through chemotherapy. So they just had to completely remove the left eye, which in retrospect, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to go through chemotherapy.
And you don't remember, do you remember this as a 2-year-old or?
I don't remember anything.
No? Damn, man. I got a 2-year-old, so this resonates with me, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, actually, you guys might appreciate this. I'll read you. My mom sent me a text yesterday morning when I woke up. This will give some context. She said, 24 years ago today, I walked you into an operating room in Miami. You were only 2. You had stage 5 rare cancer. You had your eye removed. And your brother was only 4 months old, about to go under anesthesia evaluation to check for this cancer also. As a young mom, I faced losing both of you, and at the time, I couldn't imagine a normal life. I'm so thankful and proud of you and how you're using a hard time to bring a good thing to others. And so, when I read that, Justin, to answer your question, I think what I realized is it's not about me. I almost feel imposter syndrome talking about cancer surviving every time I bring it up, because it's like, I didn't do anything, I didn't go through anything. It's not really about me. I can't imagine what my parents went through. you know, having the doctors tell them that there's actually, he shouldn't be alive. That's what the doctors told my parents. There's no reason he should be alive. This cancer should have killed him.
Wow.
So really just puts things into perspective.
So not preventable at all. I mean, is that really the only symptom? Was the red eye not having that, and I guess it turning brown? Like, how did it develop to stage 4? So, because I mean, we're having stuff with my kid's got to get glasses. I mean, that's about the extent of his eye issues right now. But I'm just curious, like how it got so aggressive so young.
That's it. Just like you said, it's just a very aggressive form of eye cancer and just develops so quickly. And I think part of the issue was, I was only 2 years old. I don't know if I felt discomfort. I don't know if I
Yeah.
felt anything. Maybe if I was older, I could talk about it. I could
Man, your mom's
tell
a
my
warrior,
parents.
man, having to go through that. Wow.
She really is. Yeah.
Wow. Dang, Justin is going deep Friday morning, man. I wasn't ready for this.
I told you, bro. I told you he's got this. This will be an awesome conversation.
Good stuff,
Um,
man.
Caleb, can you walk us through a little bit more? Because obviously, dealing with that then as you get older, like what is that like now? Obviously, your parents put you in gymnastics. Like this dude can climb a freaking rope like no one else. Dude, I'm seriously like this. It's really cool. Like he's a beast, bro. Can you walk us through a little bit about maybe what your childhood was like and like having to deal with that kind of stuff though?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you have it so young, you don't know life any different, right? I think that's the most common question I get. Like, oh, what's it like with one eye? I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. It's life, right? I drive, I did gymnastics, I, do everything else anyone else does. So it's just life. I think what I had to get over growing up, if anything, was just my self-image. I think I was super insecure growing up about how my eye looked to other people.
Hmm.
Like the fake eye, it's the fake eye's made a little bit bigger than my head is just because my head grows. I get a new eye about every 2 years, by the way.
Wow.
So growing up, as a young guy, I had this like massive fake eye, and a lot of
Mm.
kids thought it was a lazy eye and things like that. So I just became really insecure about how I looked. And I even developed like a habit when I would talk to people, my eye can't technically move. So when I talk to people, I just look them head on, right? So there's not that chance of it looking like a lazy eye. So developing my self-image was really important because I think how you see yourself is how the world sees you. So once I got over
Mhm.
that, I just, it's really the rest is history. And I think in terms of how it influenced me growing up, I quickly realized it wasn't really a disability, but rather an asset. It gave me perspective. It gave me a struggle that I could relate to people with. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book by Ryan Holiday, Obstacles the Way.
Oh yeah. A lot of the Stoic stuff.
It's funny. That line comes from one of my favorite books of all time, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, yeah. So there's a line in there that Marcus writes, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And I really, really relate to that in terms of my eye and my struggle. What stands in the way becomes the way. You know, if you look back over history's greatest leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, they really went through a struggle, right? It just made their success all the more rich. You know, obviously we know like Helen Keller, Theodore Roosevelt, Beethoven conducted his best symphonies when he was completely deaf. Justin, in our network, I don't know if you know this, a good friend of mine, Leanne Chu, this really good artist. She is world renowned. She travels the world showing her art, and it's her theme is nature, and it almost looks like a little bit glitched, right? Like her brushstrokes. And I just thought that was her style. And a lot of people connect with it around the world. And I learned she grew up in art. Her doctors and parents put her in art as a therapy for Tourette's. She's grown up with Tourette's all her life. So that art, the glitch effect, is kind of how she sees the world. So it's just so cool to think about people with these struggles have not only owned them, but they've actually turned them into what makes their life great. That obstacle has literally become her way. So I think I'm kind of finding my way, if I can just connect with someone and they're inspired by my story, then I've won.
Dude.
That's what you got to do in life, man. You know, we all deal with shit. And it's all relative. My struggles have been, you know, in sports and pain and dealing with adversity. And it's all about the story and the narrative that you know, tell yourself, and to have that champion mindset, because it is too easy to go down, you know, victim lane and feel sorry for yourself. World is too hard. I mean, every single day, man. So I really commend you for having that mindset, and continuing to develop that mindset, and to seek. I mean, the obstacle is the way stuff. Ryan Holiday and Marcus Aurelius, and shoot, there's probably a lot of other good books I've read over the years, and philosophies and frameworks that we should talk on after this, man. Because if everybody took that approach to life, they'd be in a lot better spot. So I guess what I'm saying, there's no excuses, man. That's really good stuff. I know you like that, Justin.
I love it, bro. Like when me and Caleb first met, I told him, I was like, dude, you have a gift, bro, that like most people don't
How did y'all
realize in
meet?
their life. So we're connected in a business group, and we I think we met on Twitter. Was it Twitter or X, whatever they call it
We
nowadays?
did. I think you
Yeah,
replied
which
to
is
one of my
funny, but
comments.
yeah. But so that's power of the internet again right there. But found out we have a much greater connection there. But well, dude, I mean, we're talking about mindset, dude. Let's talk about mindset, bro. I see
Yeah.
Caleb. Yeah, he's got some good tweets. He puts his thoughts out on the world. I mean, I think when it comes to especially business, let's get into the mindset business stuff now a little bit. I think when it does come to dealing with challenges every day in business, you are going to have a challenge. And if you can't mentally deal with that, you're going to fucking fail, right? So talk a little bit about what you're building with your brother. Maybe tell the story there. Then let's get into the mindset stuff here and how you're dealing with that. Because I do think, again, you're 24, man. So 24, 25,
26, man.
26.
26.
Okay,
Close
you look
enough. Close
24.
enough. Oh, thanks, man.
26, but it's just a young guy though with this kind of mindset. I honestly think it's rare, at least from what I see. And that's part of the reason we wanted you on. But tell us a little bit about what you're building with Seek, why you started it, and then we can talk more about the mindset stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. So when I was in college, I was actually looking for different jobs and internships, preparing when I graduated. I couldn't find any internships. No one wanted to take me. So my dad, being the great dad he is, told me, why don't you start your own company? That's the best kind of internship that there is. I said, fair enough. I can't argue with that. So it was really, I knew it would be a coffee company. Super, super passionate about coffee. I worked with Starbucks for 5 years. I became a coffee master with them, and it's just a big part of my life.
Same here.
Yeah, Nick, I'm gonna hook you up with some
Except
coffee.
I'm on an energy drink right now, man. I gotta get off. Like that's another thing
Dude,
we'll take offline. Anyways,
I won't
continue.
get into that, man.
Oh no.
The company's called Seek, and it started really because of my mom, right? So over 20 years ago, she got super sick with mold toxicity exposure and developed all these autoimmune issues. And I won't get into all that because it's a huge rabbit hole, but things like Hashimoto's and lupus. And essentially, what an autoimmune issue is, it's your body attacking itself, right? So it's a chronic illness. You don't really have a lot of answers or explanations. So she was going for doctor to doctor for over 20 years trying to find answers. And the doctors are just like, here's some more medication, right? They didn't give her a lot of answers. And along her healing path, one of her doctors eventually told her, you have to cut out your daily coffee. It's making you worse. And I remember I was a teenager at the time, and I was like, that's so weird, right? Like, it's just coffee. So I did some more research on it with my brother, and it turns out that coffee is actually one of the most mold contaminated crops in the world. Over 90% of commercial coffee sold in the US has traces of mold and mycotoxins, which is the toxin that mold produces. And for people like my mom with these autoimmune issues, it can cause a huge, it could flare up all these issues, right? Just make her super uncomfortable because she was going to get her daily coffee from all these coffee chains, 2 to 3 times a day, drinking a lot of coffee. So when we launched this brand, we knew it had to be something different. We weren't going to be Starbucks. We weren't going to be this other coffee chain. We had to have something different. So what we did was we partnered with a local roastery. We got some coffee. We shipped it off to a third-party laboratory to get it tested for mold, mycotoxins, and pesticides. And we gave it to our mom, essentially like a lab rat, right? Like test it out. It didn't make her worse. She drank it and the issues didn't flare up. And so we thought, okay, we have something here. And, we can get into this later about if you want tactics on how I built the business, but super, super scrappy. I mean, I built this in my
Yeah,
parents'
talk about it.
basement. Yeah, yeah. So we're broke college kids living in our parents' house, right? Like, how do you start a business? You don't even know where to start, right? Looking up YouTube videos. So, launched a free Shopify trial platform. My brother and I, we didn't have great Wi-Fi at home, so we literally built the website in a cafe nearby. Um, I didn't have enough money to pay a designer, so I literally hand painted the first label for Seek in my parents' bedroom, and then we made everything on Canva, just a free Canva plan. So we threw up the website, and only grandma ordered for the first like 5 months. It's just like the ultimate, you put in all this work and nothing happens. But it grew organically, like just word of mouth. I think if you make a good product, the marketing takes care of itself for a lot of the part. And we found that there was a lot of other people like my mom who are going through all these illnesses and they wanted a trusted, tested coffee that didn't make their issues worse. And so, yeah, I mean, that was 3 years ago. Really, the business has been around, we like to say, like a year and a half. Didn't really take it seriously. But it's grown really well, just organically.
I love that. I didn't know that about coffee. I really didn't. Again, I'm a food and bev guy in that industry, and I had no idea coffee was so, I mean, I guess toxic is the word. Do you know why that is?
So coffee is actually an incredibly huge industry, right? It's been around for over 1,000 years. It was discovered in Ethiopia, and then it was kind of cultivated and traded in Yemen. I don't need to go into the history, but it's not going anywhere, right? It's the second most traded commodity in the world, only behind oil, to put it into perspective of how common coffee is. And I only say that because just so you know how widespread it is and how easy it is for people to overproduce and underproduce on quality, right? So 2.2 billion cups of coffee are drank per day.
Man, I need to get in the coffee business, man.
You're a food and bev guy, how can you make quality on that? So it's a mixture of growing practices. It's a mixture of the supply chain. It's a mixture of the roasting process. All of these little links in the chain from farm to cup. It's like these little compromises in quality, right? That mold can grow, toxins can grow. Most coffee's sprayed with a ridiculous amount of pesticides, and we're ingesting all of that. So for a lot of people, it might not be a huge issue. Maybe your head hurts, maybe your stomach hurts. But for really sensitive people like our audience, it makes a huge difference in their health.
I wonder if that's like, because I see this a lot being in the industry because, people are either like, I'm like gluten free now, or I have this
Yeah.
allergy or whatever. And it's just like developed over time. And again, I have nothing myself and I got no say in the game, but I wonder if that has something to do with it because I don't drink coffee personally, but a lot of people do drink coffee. I'm like, it's got me wondering, like, again, if this thing is as moldy and toxic as you're saying it can be, and 2.2 billion cups of drink a day, like that's a lot of people sort of poisoning themselves in a way, That's wild, dude.
Is there anything, I mean, I'm sure there is, like it goes into some baking stuff. What all is that going into? It's not just coffee, right? Like cooking and this like coffee beans in general.
Yeah, I mean, coffee beans, they're used for a lot of different additives and things like that. But I mean, they don't need to be. It's just like cafes are so widespread around the world now. Coffee
Yeah.
beans, they're just such a staple in not only the American diet, but also other parts of the world.
Is the process different in Europe around, farm to cup versus like and who even regulates that? Is it the FDA or?
Yeah, you're actually touching on what I was just about to say. So the regulations
Yeah.
the standards are so low in America. Whatever they reject in the European Union and Japan, they send to the US to consume.
Wow.
My wife's told me about some of this stuff.
And it's tough because there's not a centralized regulation.
That is insane. So is your mom doing better now with drinking your coffee?
Yeah, she's doing a lot better. Obviously, listen, I'm not gonna get on your podcast and say my coffee saved my mom. That's not what happened, right? There's a lot of other factors in her healing journey, but it's something that she had every single day. And it really helped her along that journey, and she's had a lot of support. So she's doing a lot better. Thanks.
How can people test like their mold toxicity levels? Is there at-home stuff, or do you go to a doctor?
You go to
Because I'm about to do
doctors.
it. My
Yeah.
wife's been telling me about mold stuff for.
Yeah, the best place to start is just by testing your home. And you guys can literally go on Amazon and get like little platelet tests to test like
Yeah.
the air quality. And you can actually visibly see after, I think it's like 5 to 7 days, if mold spores are growing and if you have mold in your house. Testing yourself, unfortunately, gets really expensive. My mom, she actually went through several
Blood
mold
work and
doctors,
stuff, or
like literal doctors just for mold illnesses. So there's different panels you can get done, blood testing, and things like that, just to see if it's, in your body. But home is definitely the best place to start.
wow. Okay, so how can we help Seek Super Scale? So it's in stores, it's direct to consumer, online. Like where are all the different places people can buy it?
Yeah, online is definitely the best place to go. We ship all across the nation, every single day to every state. We do have retail partnerships. I did that reluctantly. I found people just wanted to shop in person. So we're based here in Nashville, Tennessee. We have a couple partnerships in Nashville, some partnerships in New York City, some partnerships in Austin, Texas, and LA. And I want to branch that out, but the goal is to branch it out strategically and
Mhm.
systematically. I know you guys just had my good friend Michael Brandt here on the podcast, and his growth strategy right now is way above mine. It's just all about getting more doors, getting into Target, getting into Publix, getting into Kroger. I think that's a great strategy. I don't think that's where we're at right now. I really want to only align with really value aligned retail partners. So we're in more doctors' offices, funny enough, like wellness spas, health
Love that.
practitioners, functional nutrition offices, things like that, just because that's kind of the nature of our product.
What are the tactical things that you guys are doing to grow? Because let's get like tactical here for a second.
Yeah.
For again, young guy startup here. There's some business advice that we can talk about a little bit here. So mostly online. I think we talked about this last time. Being strategic with the retailers. There's more profit to be made in the online side of things. Because retailers can beat you up a little bit. How are you guys going about growing the online business? Is it ads? Is it word of mouth? How are you guys doing that tactically?
Yeah, it's really word of mouth. And I'll tell you kind of how we grew. I discovered our niche a bit accidentally. So, a lot of the food and bread products, the immediate thing is to start partnering with influencers, right? Partner with these influencers, get them to make creatives and videos. And it was tough, man. Like I was cold DMing, influencers like 100 a day, and no one wants to work with you. Or if they do, they charge several $1,000s for a video, which a young brand can't afford. So what I'd learned was my mom was meeting with one of her mold doctors, and this doctor said, "Hey, I actually recommended your coffee to one of my patients." And I heard that, and it's almost like this aha went off in my head, and I was like, "Wait, there's doctors out there recommending our coffee." And this goes way beyond the influencer relationship. This is like a doctor prescribing you to take something. And if you think about if your doctor prescribes you to take something, you're probably not going to go to Amazon and search reviews and make comparisons like a traditional product. You're probably going to take it. So the conversion rate is already much higher. And I realized this is our niche. We're not a coffee company. We like to say that. We're a health company selling really good coffee. So actually most of our partnerships are clinicians. As of recording, we have about 660 plus clinicians actively recommending our coffee to their patients. So to answer your question, it's really just that kind of organic, making sure that we nurture those relationships with our customers.
I love that. That's super niche.
So what types of clinicians are these?
So all types of clinicians, the only requisite is they have to be board certified.
I've never heard of a doctor prescribing coffee before.
Isn't that wild?
I mean, I mean, when I was at the chiropractor, because I've been a million times over the course of my career, I mean, they had other healthy supplements and food products and stuff. So I could definitely see that. I think that's a really interesting channel and community to get into, because like I've just seen how hyper passionate people have gotten about their health, and how much they're willing to spend.
And people are coffee snobs too sometimes, bro. Like you get a good coffee like in them and they're like super like snobby about that shit, you know?
You have no idea. You have no idea. And coffee's personal too. Like I think it's one of the one commodities where it's like, have you ever someone's given you their Starbucks order or their cafe order, and they're like, don't mess this up. You know, like it's so important. They have to have 7.5 Splendas or like cream to this amount. You know, it's very personal. It's part of your ritual. And they get protective over that.
What's your favorite go-to coffee then with your guys? Do you like you put milk in it? Do you have a straight black? Like what's your favorite that you go to?
Dude, I've had straight black since I was like 12 years old. I can't.
Dang, hardcore. That matches with the outfit, bro, too, all black.
Always, everything. Have to. I'm not a
I
smart
love it.
guy, so I have to keep things simple.
I'm the
Same here,
same way.
man.
I'm the same. I wear pretty much the same. I'm wearing a hoodie right now, but it's black. I wear my black t-shirts, my jeans. I don't gotta think about it. I just throw it on every day, and it's. I
I'm
don't
all
gotta make any
black.
more decisions.
Look at that. Look at
Let's
us.
go. I love it. So what's it like working with your brother, man? I mean, I worked in a family business, so I know the craziness of it. Are you guys getting along well? Are there some days you're like, this is awesome? There's some days you're like, you getting in fucking fist fights? Like, what's that like?
Oh man, all the above. You know, co-founder relationships are tough. Co-founder family relationships are really tough because at the end of the day, you know, you can get mad at your co-founder, you can get upset, you can have your differences. But at the end of the day, like he's my brother, you know. We're co-founders, but we're brothers first. So I have to put aside the business differences or anything like that. And it's tough. It's just, I think there's an added layer of complexity. And you know this, being in a family business, it's kind of hard to navigate. I think it really just comes down to, if I could give one piece of advice for anyone in family business listening, just make sure you guys are aligned. You guys have clear roles. You know where your domains of expertise are, and you're aligned, marching towards the same vision. Any differences that we've had over the years have come from either one, we have no idea what the other person is doing or what we should be doing, or two, that we're not going in the same direction. When we nail down those two things, and we're actually in a really, really good place right now. We have our domains that we stick in, and we're going towards the same direction. But when those two things are out of alignment, you know, it's really tough to make that relationship work.
What is y'all's like North Star that y'all are
Yeah,
aligned on?
yeah. Yeah, where Seek is going. It's really, you know, my brother, he just wants to make something sick. I mean, just make a
Yeah.
really, really cool product and cool brand that we're proud of. And it's my job to kind of crystallize that. He's a huge creative. He's super talented. So it's kind of my job to take all the great ideas that he has and make it actionable, right?
Mhm.
I love that. And I got a little tip for you too, Caleb, and anyone else listening. Like, so the hat, there's this thing called like the hat. So you heard of this where you take off your hat and you're like, am I wearing my brother hat on or am I wearing my COO hat, my business hat? So like, you know what you're talking about. Cause again, it can mesh together a little bit, the business and the family side of things. And that it can get a little messy there. But yeah, we won't have to dive more into that one right there. But we talked about mindset a little bit, or let's get back to that. Dude, what wakes you up in the morning? Like what drives you, Caleb? Again, we know your story a little bit now, but like what pushes you to be great? Because you know, I see the stuff that you're putting on the internet. You talk about like, you know, the obsession, the insanity, like being good at like being focused on what you do. Where does that come from? What does that mean to you?
It's a great question. I think it comes from my eye, you know. I think knowing that I shouldn't be alive gives life a whole different meaning. I had a thought a few years ago. Sounds really terrible. I don't wish suffering on anyone, but I thought, man, I wish people could go through the struggle of losing something like an eye and getting close to death. Just because when I wake up in the morning, it sounds super cheesy, guys. I mean, super, super cheesy, but every day really is a gift. You know, I think this life of mine, I realized it's not mine. It's a stewardship. you know, so it was actually given to me. I'm a man of faith, so I believe that God did save me for a purpose. So when I wake up, it's not really like, oh man, you know, what does Caleb want to do? It's like, wow, I was given a second chance. What am I going to do with this? You know, so it kind of gives your everyday a little bit more meaning. Like, am I gonna spend a lot of time on Netflix, or am I gonna, you know, just feel bad for myself? Not really. I mean, when I wake up, I'm like, wow, I've been given these gifts, these talents, and this life. What am I gonna make of it?
That's powerful, man. And don't ever lose that. And you know, you keep doing what you're doing and keep iterating, getting better. There's nothing you can't achieve. I mean, there'll be 2.2 billion people drinking, you know, Seek coffee at some point if you
There
keep
you
that
go.
mindset. I'm
Thank you,
serious,
man.
man. I've seen crazy. I'm a man of faith too, man. I've seen crazy stuff in my life. You know, that's why they say, you know, in the Bible, like faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. I used to have that's another time we'll talk about it. I used to like eat one of these like every single day. You probably can't see it. It's like a mustard seed to remind myself to, you know, continue to have faith. And from the time that I, you know, started that to now, I mean, stratosphere, like doors get open that you don't even know are there. And that's why it's important to continue to have that mindset of every day is a gift, and you have that servant mindset, and you've talked about it, and you continue to do that, man. You can literally change the world, and it's finding other people who have that mindset and want to, you know, serve, and it just gets amplified. So you have my commitment that I will do everything that I can to help you succeed in life, because, you know, the more people that hear your story, it's going to leave them a little bit different, you know, and it's just really, really powerful, man. So Justin, I really appreciate you getting Caleb on, because that fires me up, man.
Dude, I told you he's a dog, but I think there's something powerful. Like Caleb, me and Nick joke, we're like trying to assemble the 300 Spartans to like save the world type shit. Because I find it extremely rare to find someone, especially your age, dude, like who understands like the perspective thing, where it's like you've had bad days, so you understand how when the days are good, how good they really are. I honestly think that's the greatest gift that like anyone could really have. And there's that Sigmund Freud quote where he's talking about how one day in retrospect, the days of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. I think that's 100% true, because you got that contrast. Like you can't appreciate the sunny day without the dark, you know? And I think understanding that and then just like then you take that and you use it as fucking fuel to like go build the business, go be in great shape, like impact people. Those people have changed the fucking world. So yeah, we'll add Caleb to the Spartans here, Nick, and he'll carry on some fucking some cool shit with them.
Oh yeah, I'll stop by next time I'm in Nashville, man.
Do it, man. Let's do it. Let's eat some mustard seeds together.
Yeah, man. I need to get back on it.
The founder of Visa, D Hawk, he said that life is a magnificent odyssey meant to be experienced. And I love that word, odyssey. You know, it's a journey, right? It's not a straight line. You know, a lot of people just want to live this linear life of get a job, get married, get a home, get a cushiony salary, etc. It's not really like that. All the great stories across the ages, it's been this odyssey. There's high highs and there's low lows. It's about, you know, you have a calling to leave the normal. You accept the calling. There's trials. There's mentors that come along in your life. And then there's some kind of crisis. You'll have sacrifices. You have to give up something. But then hopefully you gain something. And then you bring that reward back to, you know, where you originally came from and share it and bless others. And I really relate to that a lot. It's like, I want to live an odyssey. I don't want to live a boring life. You know, the crises, the struggles, it gives life meaning. You know, the highs are higher, the lows might be lower, but I would rather live a bunch of tens and ones in my life than only fours and sixes and be range bound to this life of mediocrity.
Facts. I love that, dude. Yeah, no one wants to date like a 6 or a 4 anyway, so you gotta push to the 10s, bro. You might
You got to
you
do
might
what
be
you
a 1 at
can.
some point, but you
Yeah,
go to
come
the
on.
fucking 10s and it's just like, hell yeah, dude. So dude, that's a great little story right there. I love the Odyssey term right there. Very cool. So I guess to maybe wrap things up a little bit here, building the business, working with your brother, obviously great story, man. Like, What what's the thing that keeps you going today besides, the stuff we talked about? Again, Nick was talking about the North Star. Like what again, your goals for the next year or two, and then I got a few more questions before we wrap up.
Just the act of creation itself is such a motivating thing, right? I'm sure you guys feel this when you make a podcast episode and you put it out into the world. When you guys create a new product, just waking up and building something, it doesn't matter what it is. You could be an artist, you could be a cook, you could be a parent, raising your child, Nick. I'm sure it's the most rewarding thing ever. Just waking up and you put something out into the world that made it a little bit better, or you just did something that made it a little bit better. And that's a long-winded way of saying, honestly, I love what I do. Just waking up, creating a product. I get emails every single day. I respond to all my emails personally from customers. My customers have my personal phone number. Hearing stories from them saying, hey, I couldn't drink coffee before, but now I can. Your product has really made a difference in my life. Just hearing reinforcement like that, it really keeps me going. And it just fires me up.
Let's go, dude. I love that answer. Okay, so I got two questions. One is, what's your favorite book? So let's get into that real quick. And then two is, what is your definition of being great?
Oh man. Favorite book. We already said I'm a man of faith, so the Bible, but I'll put that aside. I'll just say that's a given. And by the way, even if you're not a person of faith, highly recommend reading the Bible. A lot of wisdom in there, good stories. It's just an incredible book. Anyone should read. Favorite book aside from that is a book called Chasing Daylight. I wish I remember the author. It's terrible. It's my favorite book. But it's about the CEO, the former CEO of KPMG, and he was diagnosed with a terminal cancer. And he had to reflect on how he wanted to live the last 5 months of his life. So he's essentially chasing daylight. And it's a really short read, great book on how, perspective changes everything in life.
I love that.
Just
And
ordered
then,
it.
yeah, tell us what it means to you to be great. What does that mean to you?
Greatness, wherever God has planted you in life, being the best version of that. I think we kind of idolize greatness. We put it on a pedestal. It's this unattainable, unreachable thing, and we have to accomplish these great feats. But it's really not that. It's just where has God put you? It's the story of the rich man who gives his 3 different servants these gold coins, and he said, I'm going on a long trip. Take these gold coins, and I'm going to come back, and I want to see them again. And he comes back after his long trip, and he turns to the first servant that had 10 coins. And the servant said, look, master, I took your 10 and now you have 20 coins. He said, great job. Here's your reward. The next servant with the 5 coins, he said, look, master, I took your 5 coins and I made 10 coins. And the master said, great job. Here's your reward. But then the last servant, he had 1 coin, and he told his master, hey, I didn't want to mess up. I wanted to make sure you had your gold. I hid it under a rock. Here's your coin. And the master was super upset. And he said, you didn't take what I gave you and multiplied it. You're going to essentially get demoted. And I think that's a great metaphor for all of us in life. Whatever we've been given in terms of talents, in terms of passions, in terms of dreams, don't just sit on it, Don't just put it under a rock. Don't hide it to the end of your life. Take it, multiply it, do something, share it with the world.
Dude, great story. I love that. Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, calebsloop.com just has my socials and has my website, a little bit about me, what I'm building, favorite books. Justin, I know you've already checked out that part of the site. And then seektolive.com is the company.
Awesome, bro. Well, we really appreciate you coming on here, and we'll definitely have to have you on again one day. And again, everyone seriously go check out his business. The product's great. I've tried it. My parents love it. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I thought it was really good. And yeah, go support Caleb, guys. We really appreciate him for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you guys again so much. Really appreciate it.